Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, in this session today we would be talking on placement, induction and socialization under the series Human Resource Management. And for elaborate discussion we have once again with us Dr. Namita Rajput. Dr. Namita Rajput is a renowned academician. She is presently an Associate Professor with Department of Commerce, Sri Aurobindo College, University of Delhi. Dear friends, I would like to tell you all that she has immense experience. She keeps on sharing and exchanging knowledge so that she could impart best out of her. So let's take advantages from her experiences and let's try to understand more and more about placement, induction and socialization, which we would be conducting in 2 sessions. So without wasting any time, I would like to welcome our guest, Dr. Namita Rajput. Dr. Rajput, welcome once again.
Good morning, everyone. So in today's lecture, I would be concentrating on the very important issues of the human resource development, that is placement, induction and socialization. We have done so far in the present series that after the recruitment and the selection has been done, now it is the time for the placement. So placement basically means that once you have selected an individual for the organization, now it is the right time to place him at the right place with the right kind of qualifications and at the right time. So presently we'll be starting first upon the placement issues. Now after conducting the recruitment and the selection process, the organizations finally select the competent employees. Thereafter, the employee is assigned a particular job in the organization. This process of assigning a job to the candidate is called as a placement. So there is one very important thing which I would like to highlight here, that all the points and all the series till now which we have discussed, they are in the serial. And after doing the planning, after doing the job analysis, that is the job description and job specification, and which is the outcome of that we have now a complete figure and the statistics with us, that this is the right kind of number which we need for the organization, and the organization would be needing those competent employees in the coming futures and for any kind of development and the expansion programs for the future endeavors of the organization. So after we do the recruitment and the selection, we do the placement. In the placement, we assign a particular job to the individual, and basically the process of assigning a job to the individual is called as a placement. Now placement is defined as assigning a rank and responsibility to the candidates and identifying with a specific job. And if a person blends with a given job and endures to perform accordingly to the organization's expectation, it means that the candidate is appropriately placed. The placement difficulties arise out of the erroneous selection or unfitting placement. Hence, the organizations need to persistently review the cases of an employees below expectation reasons thereof, potential of the new placed employee and the problems relating to turnover, absenteeism, etc., and should take the remedial actions to solve the situation without any delay. Now we have seen in this particular slide the concept of the placement. So I'll give you a recap of what we have seen. Now placement basically means assigning a job to an individual so that he is able to perform and do the duties well. Now any kind of a misfit in case of the placement can lead to erroneous problems and major problems for the organizations. Now a person who is, for example, very good in finance and he has been placed in the marketing department, so he would be having a lot of problems because the comprehension will be beyond his mind and he would not be able to comprehend and understand the things very well because this is not in his domain and he has been wrongly placed. So there is one issue which the human resource managers have to always keep in mind, that there should not be any kind of a misfit and the erroneous misplacements in the organization. The organizations needs to review the cases on a very regular basis and in fact constantly, because every now and then we are living in a dynamism world and every now and then the organization faces a lot of differences in the way of working. Why? Because the government policy changes, the internal organization also keeps changing, the environmental which is surrounding us in terms of the competitors, in terms of the government policies, in terms of the political setup, in terms of the judicial and the legal setup, everything is going a sea change because of the the complexities which are turning around the global and the contemporary world. So in backdrop of this, the organizations cannot work in a very static environment. They have to be very smart enough to embed the environmental changes and other kind of changes which are actually sweeping around the globe. So basically, in small words, now we'll come on to the small concepts which are very important for this lecture. So what is placement? Placement is a process of assigning a specific job to each of the selected candidates, an actual positioning of an employee to a specific job with a rank and responsibilities attached to it, because once an individual is placed on a particular job, he has a particular role and responsibilities which he has to play, and there is no kind of changes which can be seen because they have been assigned and emanated from the top level managers and who have actually done the planning part of it, and it is the implementation part of it that it is coming on to the person who has been placed on a particular job. So it involves a very specific rank and the very specific job role and responsibilities relating to that particular job. So it implies that you have to have an individual who matches with the job requirements, and any kind of a miss can be a big problem for the organization. So we have to see the potentialities and the capabilities of an individual when we have to map his mind inventory, and then of course we will place him on a very good position and a right position, which would be helping in achieving the organizational goals. Now coming on to the significance of the placements. So placements I have already referred to, that it means assigning of the role and responsibilities at a right kind of place and a right kind of people and a right kind of a job. So matching the potentialities, capabilities, qualifications, skill sets is very important for an individual to be placed on a right place. So coming on to the significance part of it, let us have a look. It helps in improving the morale of the employees. It also helps in tumbling the employee turnover. It helps in dipping the absenteeism rate of the employees. It helps in decreasing the accident rates and thereby increases the security of the employees as they are placed as per their skills and competency. It evades the misfit amongst the new employees and the job, and it also helps the applicant to work according to the predetermined objectives of the organization. It helps in creating a cordial relationship between the employee working in the organization. So after having a look on these points, it is mandatory for an individual to be working on a right kind of a position, and it is not his job, it is the job of the human resource manager and the persons who are at the managerial level and who is doing all kind of planning and implementation part of the policies of the organization. So as we see that if the person is rightly placed, this not only improves his morale in the organization, this also helps in optimizing the production and optimizing the cost aspects of the organization, and internally he feels also very good because the mental satisfaction of an employee is also very important. And not only this, if he is matching with his skills and the capabilities and the job he is doing, the kind of absenteeism would be less because he feels like coming to the organization for completing his role responsibilities because it is according to his mindsets and the skill sets which he has. So not only this, the rate of the accidents would also be reduced because he is very competent enough to handle the complexities of that particular kind of a job. So it also helps in maintaining a very cordial relationship because there is a feeling in the mind of the workers that yes, the management is taking care of his capabilities and they are assigning the job accordingly. So there are so many good feel factors if this kind of placement is done in the organization, and these are the positive spillovers not only to the employees but also to the benefits which are coming on to the organization as a whole. So you'll be able to achieve the objectives in a very nice way because the competencies will match the specifications of the job and the placement regard as an individual to be placed accordingly. Now, what are the basic benefits which are coming out of the placements? So definitely you would be expecting the good results out of a job because all the things are accordingly. So getting along with the people easily and proving themselves, So keeping his high spirits high and the report of the duty regularly, learning the work and the excel in the job and avoid mistakes and the errors. So these were the comprehensive benefits, part of which we discussed in the earlier slide and part of it which we are discussing now. So in this particular slide, it says that definitely you would be expecting very good results coming out of a job because everything is in a right direction. And definitely overall there is a co-partnership feeling which would be prevailing in the organization because of the right kind of a placement. And of course the employees would always be in a high spirit, and they report to the higher level on a very regular basis because there is a transformation rather than a transaction which is happening around. The transaction approach is basically when an individual does the job just for the heck of it, whereas the transformational factors are here very important because he is actually feel like working, and there's a transformation from within, and he feels like working in the organization because he feels that he is a kind of a person which is meant to do this kind of a particular job. So there is a learning experience all around, and of course he would be excelling in his field because he is doing from the inner self and from the best of his, putting his heart and soul into the work, because whatever he is doing it by choice. So not only this, the number of the errors and the mistakes will also be on a back step and would be definitely reducing at a higher rate. So coming on to the basic problems which we see in the placements. Now basically when you talk about the placements, we are not talking about the job, we are talking about from the individual's point of view. So always remember, whenever the placement policies are drafted and crafted in the organization, the main focus should not be on the job which he has to perform, but it should be the main futuristic, and the nucleus point should be the individual. Because it is the individual who has to perform the job and not the job which has to be done by the individual. So if the priorities and the center would be the individual, definitely the crafted policies would be in the favor of the organization, not only in the favor of the organization but also is a win-win situation for both the employees as well as the organization as a whole. So the individual does not work independently, he is a part and parcel of the organization. So there has to be a sync between what the individual needs and what the company needs, but yes, the center and the nucleus should always be an individual. So we must carefully do all kind of planning and then placing the individuals. So there has to be a very diligent, intelligent, rational and judgmental policy all around. Because if any kind of a wrong step taken in terms of the placement, it can actually, because this is the action plan and where the actual production takes place. So everything is going to be jeopardized if any kind of a wrong decision in relation to the placements are concerned. Now coming on to a major aspect, that is after the recruitment and the selection we have done, which was on the basis of the job description and job specification, which were the outcome of the job analysis. Now it is the time again, which is again an offshoot of the human resource planning. So they are all sequel in nature. So now it is the time when you have actually placed the good people at the right kind of job with the right kind of mindset, skill sets and the qualifications and capabilities and potentials. Now it is the time for the induction. So let us know the basic concept of what induction means. Now see, when you have done the process and the process is done very diligently and the people have actually joined your workforce and they have joined your organization. So anyone who's joined the organization, it is a kind of a very new environment which he would be facing. So induction is a kind of a program in which the complete introduction and a comprehensive introduction is given to the new incumbent so that he feels like home and he actually comes to know about the basic insights of the company policies, the mission, the objectives, and about who would be his co-partners and who would be his the co-people in which you are going to work in the future. So there are a lot of benefits, lot of process and lot of complexities involved in the induction program, because the induction program which you have to design, which is also called as an orientation program, will have a positive spillover in the minds of the people, because once you join a new company or a new organization, it is very important for you to understand the basic environment, and after knowing the environment, definitely the production and etc. would be good because they will not feel alienated from the organization. So let us have now on the look on the introduction part of the induction program. Induction is a human resource function that systematically and officially familiarizes the new recruits to the organization, their job, and to the new work environment where they will work. The induction program is needed to design an orientation program for the new recruits, which will help the newcomers to discern what they require to do and what the organization expects from them. This will help in the new recruit to endure in the organization. So, in the induction program, a complete information will be disseminated to the new incumbent. So, this would not only help you means the new incumbent, not only knowing the company policies, but you would also as an individual will come to know what the company's expectation is from you in terms of the work to be done by you. So, this is a kind of a very important aspect of the human resource management. Now, since it is a very systematic way and a very important endeavor which the organizations take to familiarize the new incumbent with the policies in relation to a pertinent job in terms of a pertinent department and a particular department in which you have to work. So, it also helps the new employees knowing their superiors, their subordinates and their co-workers, which is also very important, because ultimately a human being is a social being and he cannot work in isolation. So, you need friends, you need eyes, ears and nose when you're working in an informal setup, and of course when you're working in a formal setup, you need to understand what your superior wants, what your subordinates are, to whom you can show your confidence and to what extent you can delegate the work and the role responsibilities, etc. So, for all these factors, you basically need to know what basically your employees are about, and a complete knowledge of the co-worker, superior and subordinate is mandatory for a new incumbent to understand the organization. So, excellent induction program must be devised, and it is the foundation of mutual understanding of all the stakeholders in the organization. The induction program initiates with the introduction session, that is giving a brief history of the company, its present situation, the number of the branches, its organizational structures, culture, values, beliefs, etc. So, after new employees are hired in the organization, they should be aware of the organizational policies, goals, objectives, policies, procedures and the regulations. So, it is all requires that a new employee should be oriented in a right direction, and this orientation is also referred to as the employee induction program. So, let us have now a very brief concept of what orientation means. The induction or the orientation is the task of introducing the new employees to the organization, policies, procedures and the rules. So, let us see one definition given by Billy Moria. The induction or orientation is a process through which a new employee is rehabilitated into a changed surroundings and introduced to the practices, policies and the purpose of the organization. Now, this is a very good aspect of the human beings, that they have the adaptability in terms of adopting the environment in which you're working. But yes, adaptation would be facilitated if a right kind of and an excellent induction program is conducted by the organization, so that there is no excuse to the new incumbent that he doesn't know about the organization. So, what is to be done here is that a brief introductory session must be given to all the employees. I mean, you can show it by any kind of a seminar or any kind of a PowerPoint presentation, which would envelop that when the company started, with how many employees, with what amount of capital, and with what kind of policies, and the mission and the vision statement. And of course, slowly over the years, the organization has expanded, and it has expanded its wing in terms of the horizontal and the vertical integration they have done. So, this is, this would help the new employee to understand more about the company, and he will not be having any kind of a feeling of alienation that he doesn't know anything about the company. So, the company policies, purpose, procedures and the programs would be very easily known to the new incumbent if the right and excellent induction program is conducted from by the company. So, let us now look at some very important and the key points in terms of the induction. It was first developed, the induction program, in 1970 in the United States, and next to selection and the placement we do the induction program. A brief introduction about the organization is done here, and the rehabilitated in the chains surroundings are also done, because once an individual leaves one organization, he is uprooted from one organization and is planted to the another organization. So he feels very bad about it, because the setup he was in the earlier organization, he was very familiar with the terms and the conditions and the way of the functioning of the organization. But yes, when you join the new organization, everything is new and everything is surrounded by various and diverse factors in which you are not familiar with. So induction program here becomes very important, and all the induction programs which are a very important part after the placement of an individual is concerned should be very well designed, and it should be very comprehensive, which would be showing all kind of the policies, programs, etc. about the company. And definitely it is nowadays used by many Indian companies also. To give some vital examples, we have a Taj group of hotels which are using the induction programs, followed by the Citibank, then the Hindustan Liver and Procter & Gamble. So it is not only used by the Indian companies, but they are also used by some multinational corporations also. So let us have a complete and a defined and a comprehensive definition of induction. The planned introduction of the employees to their jobs, the co-workers and organization, the process of receiving and welcoming an employee when he first joins a company and giving him a basic information he needs to settle down quickly and happily and start the work. So this particular definition, which is given by the Michael Armstrong, is stressing upon that it is a kind of a welcome program which is designed by the company, so that the new employee who is joining the workforce, he feels very happy and he feels very connected to the organization. And this is now the job of the policy makers and the policy implementers of an organization, that how they are going to make it very interesting, so that on the first go itself, when the new employee is joining the organization, they feel their connection and they feel that the new employee is also involved. So this is how you have to design the programs accordingly, and it is a prime responsibility of the policy makers that how they can design the induction program so that the involvement of the new employee is right from the first day. They should not feel any kind of a disconnection, and they should always given every and complete information about the company, so that right from the first day they start feeling that they are a vital part of the organization. But yes, the designing and implementation part is the prime responsibility of the policy makers and the implementers who are going to implement the policies. So what are the basic objectives of doing the induction program? Basically, to intimate the new employees about the mission, aims and objectives of the company, about the general information about terms and conditions of employee, to stimulate the interest, to provide the information, to give a clear understanding about their role and responsibilities, to minimize the reality shocks, and to communicate the details of the job requirement. So all these points are very self-explanatory, but yes, I would like to highlight one more point. When the new employee comes and joins the organization, he has certain apprehensions, he has certain negative points, he has certain positive points in his mind. So he is coming with a pre-notion about a particular company which is known from his family and friends and the close peer group, maybe a part of the organization or maybe some kind of an associate of the company, but yes, he has a pre-notion and a pre-information about the company. So he comes with those mindsets, with the information he is carrying on. So definitely when he will be working and joining the organization, what he used to feel and what actually the conditions are, it could be a mismatch. So this is a kind which we call it as, the nomenclature is called as a reality shocks. So it is the reality shock, which means what he was expecting out of job is not there, maybe on a positive side, but maybe on a negative side, but negative side we call it as a shock. So this kind of a check and realities have to be taken care of, and induction program must envelop and incorporate all possible kind of information which must be given to the new incumbent, so that he is out of these shocks right from the first day. So the last point of this lecture, that to whom the induction program must be given. It must be given to the new employees. It must be given to the all staff, including the full-time and the part-time, and to the specific groups. So here I would like to highlight the last point, that when the induction program is initiated, it is not only the new employees, it is definitely the most and the vital program for the new incumbent. But yes, some kind of revision programs, the orientation programs and the induction programs must be designed to the old employees also, because time and again we are working in a very dynamic environment and dynamic era. So it becomes very important for all the staff members to come to know that what policy changes the companies are making and what comprehensive policies are being reformed and revised and revisited and changed, because they are already a part of the organization. But yes, the policy framework which was there in the yesteryear when they joined is no more a part of the organization, because they have come out with a new mission statement, new vision statement, new kind of the programs which have already been a part of the organization. So it becomes mandatory for an organization and for all the employees to understand what kind of revisiting of the objectives are done by the company itself. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, viewers. So in the earlier part of the lecture, we focused on the placements and the important aspects of the induction program. So taking my lecture forward, now we would be discussing more in detail about the induction program, followed by the socialization. Now, as we have already discussed about the induction program is for the new incumbents to understand the basic terminology, the basic policies, programs and the other aspects of the new company to the new employees, so that they feel that they are connected to the organization right from the very first day. So the induction programs, they have to be very diligently designed so that a complete and a comprehensive information must be given to the new employees and they feel already a part of the organization right from the first day of their joining. So what should be the components of the induction program? Let us have a look. The components of an induction program explains the company culture, number one. It will clarify the policies such as what are the leave rules, the sick rules, the holiday and a special holiday. What are the pay structures in terms of how often the cash checks are directly deposited in their accounts. Then about the breaks, the number of hours they have to work, the overtime policies, the workplace health and the safety overview, and about the amenities, that is the lunch room, the sick room and the toilets, and the introduction about their workmates. So basically these are the programs, although the list is not exhaustive, but generally when you talk about the induction program of the various companies which I have visited, so these are primarily the main aspects which are covered in the induction program, which is definitely kept on the first day of the joining of a new employee. Now what are the key elements to good induction program? Number one, it should be interactive. That is, there should not be a monologue, but there should be a dialogue, and the new incumbent must also be given an opportunity to discuss about the company policies, mission, etc. To the executives who are there to give the induction program. Maybe the resource persons, maybe it's the human resource manager, but they should, the company should always take this opportunity to be taking care of this aspect, that the induction program must always be started by some top executives, because it already gives a very positive spillover in the minds of the new incumbent that yes, this is a person who's higher in hierarchy and is taking out time for the new incumbents to make them understand about the company and to have a one-to-one interaction between them. Then of course it should be tailor-made, because you cannot have one kind of induction program which is common to all. There are various and the diverse type of organizations which are present in the modern contemporary global world. So every particular organization has to devise the induction program in their own way, because the procedures, the methods, the manufacturing organizations, the trading organizations, they are definitely are having very diverse and distinct features. And for them to understand the basic policies are already different, because the manufacturing policies would be talking more about the production aspects, the trading companies would already asking about the trading concepts, and so on and so forth. So each organization is different from the other organization, so how can we have one solution for all? So there is no one ball which fits the all size. So we have to tailor-make the induction program depending upon the different types of the organizations, which is definitely a part of the globalized world. So it should be well delivered. When the induction program, there should not be any kind of a person whom you select to disseminate the information about the company who is having a communication problem. It should be well delivered in terms of the language used, in terms of the policies which are to be endorsed to the new incumbent. So the delivery of the induction program must be carefully done, and a lot of care should be taken to select a resource person who has the best communication skills, because communication is the essence of the success of these organizations. So if the communication is done in a very crystal clear manner, there should not be any ambiguities left in the minds of the new incumbents, because they are delivering in the best possible manner. So not only this, the induction program must be well structured. The well structured program of the induction is a precondition for the new incumbents to understand the various aspects of the organization. Any kind of wrongly designed induction program which is not well structured, definitely the company has to bear a lot of cost to them, because the new incumbents will come every now and again that yes, we do not know about it, and the induction program we were never told about it. So whosoever is designing the program, definitely it is the top level management representation which is the prime in making the program very effective. They should take all these kind of cares, that it should be tailor-made, it should be well delivered, it should be well structured, and it should be interactive. These are the 4 pillars for the induction program to make the induction program a success in the organization. So let us now talk about that what are the possible advantages if you design such a beautiful program on the induction. Number 1, it creates a favorable impression on the employees, so they feel that yes, the induction program is very nicely done. Number 2, it creates a favorable impression on the organization also. It reduces the labor turnover and absenteeism. It explores to all areas of organization. The anxiety, confusion can be removed through a proper induction program. So you can see the possible benefits which are actually the outcomes of the good induction programs. So what happens without an effective induction program? Let us have a look on this also. Number 1, there is a poor integration into the teams. Number 1, this is the biggest problem. If the induction programs are not designed properly and there is some kind of inadequacy which you can see in the induction program. So this is the most important negative outcome of this non-effective induction program, that there will not be any kind of a integration into the teams. So to enhance and implement the integration between the teams, this is very important to design a good induction program. And of course, when the induction is not given to them, the morale would be very low, particularly for the new employees. There is a loss of productivity. There's a failure to work their highest potential, the additional cost for recruiting or replacement, wasted time for the inductor, and lowering of the morale for remembering the company policies, and damage to the company reputation. So these were the possible negative aspects if you are not able to perform and implement the induction programs in a well designed way. So what to avoid in the induction program? That is, whenever you are conducting the induction program, what are the possible things which you should avoid? Number one is that too much of the information should not be given on the first day, but yes, complete information should be given. But add-on information can be given in the subsequent sessions, not on the first day, because the new incumbent will feel pressurized and there could be an overhead transmission of this information. So the basic purpose and the basic objective of holding this kind of an induction program would be undermined. So great care should be taken when you are delivering the induction program and designing an induction program, that too much of information should not be a part. Yes, vital information should already be a part, but too much of the information which is not also vital and very important should not be a part of the induction program, because the new incumbent will feel confused and he would not be feeling good at that time, and he would be feeling pressurized in terms of so much of the information spillover on his head. Then pitching the presentations at an appropriate level is also a part which should be avoided, and the HR rather than the local managers providing all the information, it should be shared. So this is the last and the most important part of what should be avoided in the induction program, that whatever the induction program and whosoever is delivering the induction program, the company should make it very mandatory that this information should be disseminated not by a local manager but by a higher person in hierarchy, and probably the human resource manager must take this opportunity and responsibility to deliver the induction program in the best possible way, in the best communicable language they can, and with the least ambiguities involved in the induction program, not with too much of information. And yes, the information, all the complete and the vital information which is very important for the incumbent to know, must be incorporated in the induction programs. So let us have a comparison of whether the induction program is effective and when it is ineffective. Let us have a look on this. So when you talk about the effective induction program, it decreases the chances of attrition, whereas if the non-effective method is adopted, then it increases in the attrition, and attrition rate lower it is, the better it is. And it makes the employees more energetic if the induction program is effective, whereas in case of the non-effective induction program, it demoralizes the new incumbent. Then it makes a positive impact in the mindsets of the people, whereas it is having a negative impact. In the effect, if the induction program is effective, it reduces the cost and increases the teamwork, whereas vice versa conditions are there in terms of the non-effective induction program. That is, it increases the cost and it decreases the overall team spirit, teamwork in the organization. So what could be the possible problems in the induction? They should not be overloaded with the information, number one, and the employees must be encouraged, and the employee may develop a wrong perceptions because of short time spent on each job. Now, effective way of induction program. So let us have a look at this slide. So this slide says that the induction to the organization is the first step, followed by the induction to the position. That is, a new incumbent must be enriched not only with the complete information and a comprehensive information about the company policies, etc., which we have already been discussed in the earlier part of the lecture, but also the induction program should concentrate on the position onto which he will be placed. So having a complete insights about the present position he is going to join is also very important, that who were the earlier players in this particular seat or in this particular job position, and what was their record performance, how they have been performing, what particular policies they have been followed. So this is a kind of an induction to the particular job, and this is I think, to my knowledge, it should be more nicely done, because this is the ultimate work role responsibility which a new incumbent has to adopt. So having understood the culture of the previous person who has already been a part of this particular job position must be a part and a very important part of the induction program. So overall induction to the organization followed by the induction to the position is also very important. Now overall, what is the importance of the induction program? So it is a task of familiarizing the new recruits to the organization, its guidelines, strategies, procedures and the rule books. It may last for a day or less. in most organizations, and in some organizations this is done casually by attaching the new employees to their superiors. So here I would like to explain that whenever the induction program is implemented and started in the organization, it should not be casually taken, because this is a very important exercise, and all the organizations, be it an Indian organization, be it a multinational or corporation, so a complete time and effort is needed, and a dedicated program must be required for the induction program, and it should not be very casually taken, because any casual thing which is actually the prime thing can actually change the game. So the new incumbent must be given due importance on the first day, and the right induction and a comprehensive induction program must be devised completely dedicated to the policies, programs, frameworks, job, etc. must be done by the human resource managers. Not only this, since induction is a part of the selection process, the newcomers may feel unconfident, they feel shy, anxious and frustrated due to the lack of knowledge about the new organization and its environment. So if you are forming an induction program, so all these things will be uprooted automatically, and the new incumbent will feel very confident that yes, now he knows and he has the insights of the company policies, etc. And it also helps the employee to gain confidence in relation to the company and to know about the environment. So basically now we would be discussing the purpose of the induction. Number one, it eliminates the fears, because whenever you are joining a new workforce, you have a kind of a fear in your mind that yes, the organization, what the employees would be doing, what will be the status of the co-workers, and how the superior and the subordinate relationship is all about. So all these kind of fears, they are eliminated in the induction programs, and all the superiors and the subordinates and the co-workers who would be a part of the department, and when the induction relating to the job is done, so they must be present that yes, these are your co-workers, these are your subordinates, and they are your superiors. This will actually uproot all kind of fears and anxieties and frustrations, etc. from the minds of the new incumbent. And definitely it makes a very good impression, and induction also makes the newcomer feel at home and develops a sense of pride in the organization, as it helps the new employee to adjust and familiarize with the new job. After a formal and the informal induction, the new employee does not hesitate in posing any kind of questions and seek explanations on the issues relating to his job. Induction is an affirmative step, as it leaves a respectable impression about the company and the employees working there in the minds of the newcomers. It also helps the newcomers to be more dedicated to their particular jobs. So not only this, the induction program is also a source of a complete and a comprehensive information, because the introductory sessions and the subsequent job sessions, they are having a complete information about the company policies, the programs, the future endeavors, the developmental plans, then about the job. So it's a very important source of the information about the company. So overall we can say the advantages of the induction program: the absenteeism is reduced, the productivity is enhanced, the anxiety and all other aspects, negative aspects are uprooted, the deep understanding of the new incumbent with the environment of the company is concerned. So there's a positive environment which would prevail after the induction program, and all the vital and important information will be automatically spilled over onto the company. Not only this, it helps in developing a sense of belongingness and loyalty towards the organization, and it helps in building a two-way communication between the management and the employees, because now they feel very confident that yes, they know about the company, and in whatever queries they have, they can always talk about to the top level executives and the management people. So there is definitely the cordial and the good feel factor relationship would prevail after a good induction program. Then appropriate comfortable relationship enhances the teamwork also. It helps in assimilating the vital information to the new incumbents. And not only this, a formal induction program evidences that the organization is taking keen interest in getting him a good start, and also reduces the employee grievances. So now we would be discussing about that what are the steps in the induction program. So they are again in sequel. The first is the tour of the faculties, if you're talking about an educational institution. Then introduction to the employees and the superior subordinate is the second step. Then description about the organizational functions, that is what the organizational functions is all about, is the third step, followed by the departmental visit if they are supposed to join one department. And this example I've taken from the academic field since this is an academic lecture, so you would very easily correlate the induction program and my example. And the fifth would be orientation to the philosophy, goals and the objectives of the organization, followed by the administration, policies and the procedures which that particular academic organization is taking. So what are the steps followed by the HR department in organizing a induction program? Let us have a look on this. The human resource department may take the following steps while organizing the induction program. Number one, it is a welcoming the new recruit to the organization. To give a brief about the company is a second step, followed by to show the location and department where the new employees would work. To provide the organizations the booklet to the new recruit so that after taking out certain time he can have a deep study of all this, and to deliver the details about the workforce with a degree of unionism within the organization and to the new recruit. To give particulars about the salary, benefits, holiday leaves, etc., and to explain about the future training scenarios and the career prospects, if any, and to eliminate the doubts by cheering the new employee to come out with the questions. And when of course the cheering session is done, that whatever questions you are open to, the open house is there and the new incumbents feel confident because they are now well equipped with the complete information about the company, so they feel more confident, and whatever other queries they come forward and discuss about all these things, and to take the new recruit towards the building facilities, etc., and finally hand over him to the superiors. So these were the differences, these were the prime steps which are taken by the human resource manager before inducting the program of induction. So now coming on to the basic differences between what is a placement and induction. Placement is a process in which the selected candidate is placed at a suitable position, whereas induction is a process of acquainting a person with the organization, or one may ask mainstreaming of the person. Then of course placement is an event, whereas induction is a series of events. And when you talk about the time period, placement is not at all time consuming, that is, it takes few minutes or hours, whereas the induction program approximately takes 1 day. Then of course when you talk about the placement, it precedes the induction, whereas it succeeds the placement, that is the induction. So here I have taken 2-3 examples from the Maruti Udyog and definitely from the Wipro. So basically the company customizes its initiation programs to suit the new recruit, and they familiarize with the other functions and the divisions. They work on the floor, and then of course about the various departments, and finally to the various departments. So similarly the same policies are adopted by the Wipro recruits also. So coming on to a new concept called socialization. Socialization is a method through which a new recruit begins to comprehend and assent the values, customs, standards and the principles held by the other individuals in the organization. Now since you have been inducted and you have been placed in an organization, so now it is the time to socialize. So basically socialization is a method in which the new recruit begins to understand the basic philosophy, and he actually comprehends and assents the values and the custom and the standards held by the other individuals in the organization. So also he feels to be adopting these kind of policies if they see them. So HR representatives assist the new recruits to adopt the things that are done in the organization, and also helps the new recruits to network freely with the existing employees at various levels and absorb the behavior that are adequate. Not only this, through such interaction and conversation, the new employees begin to comprehend how the organization is running, who clenches the power, who is politically active, who is expected to them, and to conclude, if the new recruit wishes to endure and flourish in their new workplace, they must get to know the organization well and should try to adapt the new work culture. So socialization is basically adopting the new culture in the organization. So by socializing, they will come to know that what particular policies the companies are adopting, and who is politically active, who is actually a good worker, etc. So all these questions are automatically answered in his mind if he is adopting to the socialization very well. So let us now have a look on the process of socialization, that is how the socialization is done. So we have in this process we have 3 steps. Let us have a look on this. The first is the pre-arrival stage, and the second is the encounter stage, followed by the metamorphosis stage. So all these three stages needs a complete analysis and the explanation, because you would understand what the socialization process is all about. So if an X individual joins the Y organization, so he must understand that who's politically active, who's having the actual power, who's having the actual authority, who's not having the authority but is powerful, etc. So if you want to actually be a part of the organization and for the long time and in a very sustainable way, perhaps socialization is the only solution. So let us discuss the process one by one. That is the pre-arrival stage. So the pre-arrival stage states what? The pre-arrival is the first and the foremost stage which clearly identifies that each individual reacts with a set of organizational morals, approaches and opportunities. It highly skillfully and managerial jobs, new recruits will have experienced a substantial degree of prior socialization. However, pre-arrival socialization goes far and the specific job. Selection process is used to maximize the organization, to enlighten the prospective employees about the organization as a whole, and the interviews too also act to confirm an insertion of the right type of people at a right place. So certainly the capabilities of the person to present suitably during the selection process determines their talents to move into the organization. So pre-arrival stage is basically connected with the selection process. So in the selection process, definitely the person who is having those particular capabilities and potentialities are a part of the organization. So this process helps in the pre-arrival stage of the organization. Then we have the second stage, that is the encounter stage, which is the second process of the socialization. So let us have a now look on this. The new members enter the encounter stage after entering into the organization. In this stage, the new recruits oppose the possible contradiction between their anticipations about the job, their colleagues, their superiors and organization. And if the anticipations prove to be accurate, the encounter state simply provides a confirmation of the perceptions generated previously, though this is regularly not the case. But when anticipations and actually vary, the new incumbent must endure the socialization, which will disconnect them from their prior postulation and substitute these with the organization's essential criteria. Socialization, though, cannot resolve all the anticipation variances at grade. Some new recruits may become completely disappointed with the realities of their jobs. So we call this stage as an encounter stage, because encountering is when you actually experience the insights of joining the organizations. So maybe you have certain pre-notions before joining the organization, so now you will have a realities in front of you. So those realities could be a shock for you, because what you were expecting out of the job and the environment which you were expecting is not at all the same. So that is why we call it as an encounter stage. So these variances which are there in the mind of the new incumbents, sometimes it is solved and sometimes it is over, carry on the whole time till the time he is a part of the organization. So let us now have the third stage, that is the metamorphosis stage. Lastly, the new recruit must try to resolve all the problems revealed at the encounter stage. This means that he or she need to go through some changes. Henceforth, the latest stage is named as a metamorphosis stage. Metamorphosis is a comprehensive as a socialization process. When the new recruit is relaxed and happy with the organization and their co-workers, it means that the new members has adopted the standards of the organization and their colleagues. So new recruits will feel recognized by their colleagues as reliable and respected person. Lastly, they will know how they are going to assess and what is expected out of them. Subsequently, the positive metamorphosis should be progressive effect on the recruit's productivity and his or her commitment to the organization, and should decrease the probability that employee can leave the organization anytime. So this is basically the last stage, that is the metamorphosis stage, which we talk about here. So overall, now the new incumbent is at a very relaxed stage and a very happy stage, because he knows he has already seen the pre-arrival stage in which he has seen and analyzed the factors earlier, and whereas in the second stage, that is the encounter stage, he comes to know about that what was in his mind is actually there or not. So is a kind of a reality shocks which he sees, and he sees the type of the variations which he used to feel about the organization. And then finally he comes on to the metamorphosis stage. So metamorphosis stage is basically the problems are all revealed and they are all solved and they are all settled, and the metamorphosis stage is a reality aspect of the socialization process. And if the individual is working on a very good scale and a relaxed manner and a happy manner, that means he has already adopted the culture of the organization and he feels very good to be a part of the organization. And there are certain new incumbents which will never be happy, so it is now the time for them to leave the organization. So there we call it as a labor turnover. So less the labor turnover, the better it is, because the more of the socialization process would help us in staying of the individual to the organization, which would help in achieving the organizational goals. So I hope you are able to understand the process of the socialization very well. Thank you so much.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again for giving us a very, very elaborative description on the topics placement, induction and socialization. Dear friends, we believe that your feedback is very, very important for us. So keep asking questions, keep giving your feedback, keep giving your suggestions. As I said, they are very important for us. So you can mail us at info.cc@nic.in, and all the lectures concerning the series Human Resource Management are there on YouTube for you. And this lecture is also going to be uploaded on YouTube very soon for your easy accessibility. So you can watch the lecture number of times you wanted, and afterwards definitely you can mail us. So, ma'am, what else are we going to study in the future sessions?
In the future sessions, we'll be doing the strategic part of it, the policy making, and the insights of how the organization can move forward in terms of the horizontal and the vertical integration. So, we'll be doing the strategic and the policy making framework after this.
Definitely, we are looking forward for the future sessions. Till then, take care, goodbye, and yes, keep watching us. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much.